Welcome back to the Modcast. It is one of your favorite times of the week. You've got Jason Sukermel, Alex Dunlap, and Jeff Ketchum, who went back in a time machine and looks so young with hair.
Look at that hair on Catch. My gosh.
I was a trip in the DeLorean, Cody, a.k.a. Jeff.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Got my hair back. I'm doing good.
Looking good, looking buff, looking all that kind of stuff. But hey, make sure before we get too far, hit the like button, hit subscribe to the channel if you have not. Don't miss out on all the good stuff that we're doing. If you missed out, Alex and I had a great show this morning, and one of many to come. Jason's looking good. Jason was on the show this morning, and Cody is filling in for Jeff Ketchum, which means we all get the chance to complete our sentences today, fellas. So enjoy that. I can interrupt you if you need me to, or do a 5-minute monologue. But guys, I was thinking about something, and there's been a lot going on since the weekend leading up to today. And, it started over the weekend. We basically find out the extension for Steve Sarkisian and, of course, some of his assistant coaches as well, at least his coordinators. So we got Steve Sarkisian under contract to 2030. He's got his assistants, the coordinators have extended to 2026, right? So we have that. We know Sark is getting paid $10 million a year. Woo, that's a nice raise, buddy. $10 million a year. And then there was the announcement today of the college football playoffs, which we knew was going to be a 12-team playoff, but they kind of revealed a little bit more of the format today. And then we'll get into that. So really the question that I wanted to kind of throw at everybody, and Cody, I'll start with you, is real simple, which is, hey, with all things being said, will Texas make the playoffs every year under Steve Sarkisian?
Going forward, I don't see a reason why not. And it feels like it's a layup answer, right? It's already happened once. This year, this 2024 team is built structurally better than last year's team even was. And it feels like Sark is already ahead of the 8 ball on getting into the transfer portal, utilizing both the transfer portal and recruiting in the high school ranks, being top 10 in both sides is only a better way to build the program. And people are starting to want to come to Texas more and more. Not that they already weren't before, but I don't see a reason why, you don't want to compare them to other dynasties of such, but I don't see a reason why they shouldn't be in that top 10 conversation every single year. And now with the playoff being 12 teams, I don't see a reason why not.
What about you, Alex? What's your thoughts on this?
Is he going to make the playoffs every year?
Every year?
No.
Why not?
Because at some point he's going to get fired. What do you think Sark's going to be here for 30 years? I mean, there's going to be down years wherever they don't make the playoffs, and he'll probably, this fan base will get sick of it, and it's like, I mean, I hate to throw a bucket of cold water on stuff, but I mean, what coach is perfect? There probably have to be down years, and I think he would have to. His career would suffer if there are multiple down years like that. But it's like I just one day, like, I hate to say it, man. One day we're all gonna die. Everyone and everybody you love is gonna die. Bad things happen. And at some point, Sark, whatever he has going on right now, is going to come to an end. And it's like, so no, I don't think he's going to, I think it's I think for the near future, looking forward with the roster that's built, the players he has right now, what he has going, I think that it's, I think that, yeah, they should be in the top 12 right now, especially given what's going on at Alabama, the roster turnover and everything that's happening at some of the big schools like Michigan. Who knows what's going to happen with Ohio State? Cody can tell you there's grumblings from some of our friends that are Ohio State guys that are, they're kind of, some of those guys are kind of tilted by Ryan Day and don't think, do you know what I mean? It's like, there's some things happening right now in college football where Texas can become one of the super power brokers, but I think it's unreasonable. It just doesn't it sound crazy to say Sark's going to make it every single year? I mean, is that
not with this new format? I think this new format opens the door. Like Saban was, you can't compare him to Saban, but like how prolific Saban was forever. If you gave him a 12, I can't pull the stats up right now. I probably could find them, but if you look back at the last since 2005 when Saban got there, 2006, whatever it was, how many times they've finished top 12 in the AP.
We're comparing Sark to Nick Saban now.
So that's the deal.
What,
Like he's
what I'm saying is Saban's gone and Kirby's there. And Kirby, I mean, they were number 5 last year, but Georgia's been now continually in the top 10 year after year after year.
Kirby got back-to-back national championships and could have probably won a third last year. Sark isn't Kirby Smart, dude. Let's back down a little bit.
But he's in the conversation for one of the best coaches in college football right now. Sure. And the trajectory, I'm basing this off a trajectory and projection. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about, will he make the playoffs every year at Texas?
Well, I think look, this is the question should he be expected to make the playoffs every year? The answer to that is yes, right?
That's
but
fair.
To say he's good, but to say he's going to do it is assuming things and acting like we know the future and acting like
the quarterback doesn't get hurt. I mean, a lot of things can go into that. I'm with Alex. No, he's not going to make the playoffs every year. That's ludicrous.
Okay, let me ask you this, Jason. But let me ask you this, Jason. You think if this question was posed to Ohio State, that there would be that same sort of hesitation that, oh, wait, I don't know if Ohio State or Ryan Day is going to make the playoffs every single year? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Texas has had one truly good year under Sark. Let's back it down a little bit, guys. And listen, I'm the biggest Sark fan there was when he got hired, right? But I mean, Sark hasn't done what Ryan Day has done. He hasn't done what Kirby Smart has done. Nick Saban, we're talking about the 3, arguably, along with maybe Dabo, the 3 greatest coaches or most successful coaches in college football, certainly over the last 10 years. So
is Dabo going to make the CFP every year?
Yeah, exactly. People would have laughed about Dabo not making it. And I mean, is Dabo going to make it every year? That's exactly right, Alex. Things can change in a hurry. Unless your name is Nick Saban, things can change in a hurry. But I mean, Sark should be. Alex is 100% right. Sark should be expected to make the college football playoffs every year, top 12. But there's going to be a year, guys. There's going to be a down year at some point. You lose a game you shouldn't. Your quarterback get hurt. Something crazy happens, and you wind up going 8-4, and you don't make the playoffs. I mean, it could and probably will happen.
And I think there's some good comments in the chat about how Dabo. It's like, you know, things change quick and they've happened quick. And like we're talking about how Dabo's on the decline right now, and Clemson seems like a team on the decline. We had this discussion. I forgot, man. Was it on Overreaction Monday when we talked about where are the DeAndre Hopkinses, right? Where are the T Higginses, right? These types of players, like what a big name say Justin Ross or these dudes were coming out of Clemson. It used to be a wide receiver factory, and it's like, look, who are the draft prospects now, right? What is it? It's the running back.
Cornell Powell was 2 years
ago. I mean, what is it? Shipley now, who could be like maybe a 4th, 5th round pick. So things happen quick, and it's like Dabo. They say that look, and I don't follow Clemson as closely as everybody else, but I've heard what the narrative is with him. It's what they're saying in chat, right? It's what they're saying in chat. He doesn't like, you know, the narrative is he doesn't like the portal. The narrative is he thinks NIL's cockamamie. I think that Saban thought NIL was a little bit cockamamie. He thought it's like, man,
because it evened the playing field for him.
I liked it better when only we could give people money. Now everybody can give him money. I mean, you heard how he went off on his own guy, Jimbo Fisher. What was that, 2-3 years ago, about the recruiting class, the best money could buy, all this stuff like that. So, you know, times change even for a guy like Saban. So I think it's, you know, as we look into the future with Sark, I think the future looks bright. I think that, you know, people complain about, you know, how can you extend them for $10 million a year all the way through 2030? And to that, I say, look, like these rich guys, if they have enough money to where they just like, they love being power brokers, man. And they just come in, they're like, I'll pay the buyout. I don't care. It's like, it doesn't matter to the regular fan or the, you know, what this is. It isn't like money is going to be coming out of your pocketbook to buy out of this contract, right? So I think it's fine to pay Sark like that. He's like Alabama. I think. Do you guys at least think that Alabama would have rather had Steve Sarkisian than DeBoer? It had to have at least been a conversation. It was somebody who they were talking about going after. It was the agent of all, you know, was it Sexton, the agent for all these guys? They went down and just set up shop down there in Tuscaloosa and just started taking phone calls and started working out deals with everybody and started connecting all the dots and stuff like that. Sark was right up in that mix. So he deserves to get paid like one of these top dudes. And he does the expectations that come with that are, yes, the expectations should be CFP every year. Man, it's 12 teams now. You should get in that thing. But will he do it every year? It's like to say he'll do it every year. I think you got to put on some real Homerish glasses and say that no matter what happens, Texas is going to be okay. And, at some point, there could be something that gets cockamamie and sideways, and who knows what could happen in the future.
Would you say the same? Okay, so let's say I use Ryan Day as an example at Ohio State. So let's go ahead and eliminate that. All right, let's eliminate that title. Let's eliminate the Saban conversation. Let's eliminate Kirby Smart. Oregon. Do you have any doubt in your mind that Oregon will be in the playoffs every year based on off a coach who hasn't had that quote unquote success, at least as much on the field as Sarkisian is getting to the playoffs as a head coach? What about Oregon? Are you going to tell me at this point you think Oregon won't be in the 12-team playoff?
Every year.
That guy looks too much like Tom Herman.
That's not how we base our opinions on
man.
what people look like.
I'm just like, no, I can't say that Oregon's going to be there every year.
Twice last year.
I can't even say Georgia's going to be there every year.
Well, actually, he lost.
I think that's
Washington twice.
He lost to Washington twice.
I think that's wrong though. Like I think we're looking at. I understand you don't want to look at it through a Homerish glass with Sarkisian, but especially when you're talking about Kirby, and I think you have to put the conversation of putting Sarkisian in that top 10 conversation minimum for head coach. Put him in the top 5. That's the Kirbys, of course. Day, Saban's gone, but those guys, if you look at what they've done, finishing top 12, Kirby's done it every year. Outside of the first year he was at the program. Ryan Day's done it every year outside of that first year when he just coached 3 games. Saban has done it every year outside of the first year at Alabama. Sarkisian didn't finish the year ranked 2021, was 25th in 2022, and is now a number 3 overall program at the end of the season. Why can't you project? Do you not like JD asked a question that Jeff said, why not? The question is, why not? Why isn't this program built right now? And when you're forward looking at how he's attacking the transfer portal while also utilizing the high school recruiting, how the team is currently built, the quarterbacks that are in-house, the talent that's around it, and the coaching staff that's been here for 3 seasons, as Alex's article that came out today, why don't you feel good about the culture and the build of the entire program to say, we are here now going forward? Who's going to stop it? Who's going to slow it down from finishing top 12?
Yeah,
pretty good teams in the SEC will have a say in that. Tougher scheduling, a game at Michigan next year. Would you have foreseen USC's collapse last year?
I never believed in that.
Dude, everybody would have predicted USC to be in the top 12. Slam dunk. Bad years happen. Bad things happen. I mean, yes, the expectation, he should be there every year. If you want to make a bet, I love to make bets. Cody, if you want to make a bet whether Sark makes it every year for the next –
oh, Lord. Not another bet that no one's going to pay up on.
So this is going to be like
in 12 years. We're not.
10-year bet?
10-year bet. 10 years down there.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'll do a 10-year bet.
I may be dead and buried at that point.
No. I mean, it took Alex how many years to pay up on his bet? Like, we're not doing that, okay? All right, Tom G's in the chat. What has he got to say, Alex?
What's up, all Onwar? What's the backstory? Oh, and thanks, Tom G. Of course, the richest man in the whole chat. He says, "What's up, all Onwar? What's the backstory on the #CFP stash again? I thought it was gone. Sark making the playoffs at 750 clip would be outstanding. IMO. Yeah, I didn't notice. I didn't even notice that you got it's a little bit of a mustache back. I guess I didn't notice because it's a little bit of a goatee going with it too. So it kind of blends in.
Well, I did both. So the thing is that I grew it out for the month. There's the goatee going. I grew it out for the month of November and for suicide awareness, and I was really happy with that. And then I have the blinds open. It's really bad right now. And then everybody thought it was the CFP. They thought it was their lucky stash. And so they wanted me to keep this theme through December. So I was in this catch kind of screwed me because at the end of the month where I was like, all right, I'm about to shave this thing off next week. He's like, you can't shave it off. It's a good luck. And then of course, everybody starts chiming in. Oh my gosh, it's good luck. Oh my God, you can't shave it. So then I felt obligated. Like if I shave this thing off in December, Texas loses. Ooh. Never hear the end of this. Never. Like it's so I felt like I had to keep it on, but I was doing it. I was just ready to cut it off. But then what happened was after I cut it off, I was like, man, my face kind of lacks character. I actually kind of missed something to that effect. So now I'm growing it back the way I want to grow it back. And that's where that's where we're at, Tom. By the way, go ahead, dude. I'm going to turn off these blinds real quick.
Yeah. So it's Tom's saying a 750, a
I think that's a
750
reasonable
batting average.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
that's a reasonable expectation. I think 3 out of 4 years. Absolutely. I think that's very reasonable.
Yeah, but the thing is, guys, he's not getting paid for that. They're not 10 million a year isn't going towards 8-4, 9-3. And I know there's a difference. There's a wordplay, right? Like, will they versus
I haven't
expectations?
I haven't gone through enough of these scenarios on to think, does 10-2 guarantee you're in there?
I mean, you'd have to see it probably does. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
you'd have to, Alex, you'd have to basically just look at like one of the final CFP rankings before the playoffs, and you just have to go through those top 12 and see what those teams are, which I can do if you need to. But nonetheless, Kevin Eltife, Chris Delcani, they're not paying him for that thing to happen every once in a while. They're paying him because they believe that he's going to do this thing year in and year out. And Delcani's been really clear that his expectations every single year is that his guys compete for championships.
I mean, those are very, very lofty expectations, and he's getting paid for them. And so I do believe that should be the expectation, but that's not the question. If the title of this was, should the expectation be for Texas to make the playoffs every year under Coach Sarkisian? For one, no one would click on it because it would take too long to read, right? And for two, I would agree with that. I say, yeah, man, that should be the expectation. He's getting paid like that, right? It should be the expectation. I'm just saying things happen.
Hey, Alex,
ball bounce is funny sometimes. Like,
to answer your question, last year's number 12 ranked team was Oklahoma, and they finished 10-2. Every team above them was 10-2 or obviously better. And there was no 9-3 team that finished in the top 12. So I think it was you that had the. Well, then you have like a Liberty that was 13-0, SMU 11-2. But for the teams that really matter in this discussion, 10-2 seems to be the cutoff. So you're telling me there's not a year, Cody, when Sark might go 9-3 based on that. I mean, it might happen next year, dude. I mean, they got Georgia, they got Michigan, they got a tough schedule next year, man. So
Tom G's back in the chat with a super chat question here. Again, very, very rich. So Tom G, thank you, brother. We definitely appreciate those super chats. In the SEC, you could lose 2 games to the top 4 and be out of the playoffs. That will not happen. That will happen not just to Texas, but all great teams. I don't know. It's like I need to read more about how they unanimously approved this 5+7 thing, and how many, if there are those liberties or those kind of group of 5 teams or stuff like that, how they could play spoiler to some kind of 10-2 SEC team if there's some sort of undefeated, you know what I mean, some sort of undefeated team from a lesser conference and stuff like that. I wonder how much that could play.
2022, so 2 years ago, the cutoff was 10-2. The 13th ranked team was Florida State at 9-3, Oregon State 9-3, Oregon 9-3. So 10-2 seems to be, whoever threw that out there, a really good cutoff. Anything below that, you're playing with fire a little bit. I get it. Texas gets a little bit of leeway probably playing in the SEC. 10-2.
So Texas will make the playoff. So they need to be 10-2. So basically, the Michigan game, I think right now is not looking as tough as it did before. Michigan, 15 players at the combine. Jim Harbaugh gone. A program that's going to be in complete overhaul. So you have that game. You have the Georgia game. You have the Oklahoma game. It's like you're saying Texas, and then they got to win they can't go stub their toe on some kind of weird game versus Mississippi State or something like this, right? Not that I think that they will, but man, you got to, to be able to say like he's going to do this, he's going to do it every year starting next year. You have to win 2 out of 2 out of 3 of those, only one of those. No, at least one win out of those, and can't stub your toe again through the whole rest of the season. I mean, I guess that's probably what you should expect. But I can't just say it's a lock that every year you're going to be able to run that gauntlet and not just have anything.
Well, I guess the question I would ask is why. And here's why. I hear what you're saying, So I acknowledge what you're saying, Alex. You're saying, hey, every year you may stub your toe. But, Jason, as a guy who follows recruiting, and if you look at the way Sarkisian has been recruiting from the high school level and hitting it in the transfer portal, those two things, and they've been hitting it at a very, very high clip, okay? Top 3 classes, the past 2. Yes, you do, Alex. Top three classes.
Thank you very much for the super chat, Blake Mason. I need to I'll look into it, brother. I'll look into it.
Yeah. All right, let me finish my thought real quick. Top 3 classes in the last 2 recruiting classes. Clearly, in this cycle, when we look at the receivers that he brought in, when we look at the defensive end, we look at the edge position from Trey Moore, we look at the Makuba, we look at the tight end. Why not, Jason? The way recruiting has been going on, why we can't say, you know what, this probably will happen the way that Sark is recruiting, because that's what, if you talk about one consistent, that has consistently been there.
It has. You're right. Top 3 classes, incredible classes. They're not up to Georgia's standard. Kirby's there because he's got number 1 ranked classes that lap the field.
We're not saying he has to be like Georgia.
I view Kirby as the one guarantee on the box that's going to be in there.
But we're talking about being the best team in the country, and we're not talking about that. We're just talking about just being in the 12-team playoffs with the way they're recruiting.
Okay, let me put it this way. Texas finished number 3 in the rankings last year, right? Going into the playoffs.
Yep.
Yes.
If Quinn Ewers, he missed 2 games, right? 2.5 or
yes,
2.5
2 games.
What if he would have missed the rest of the season? Does Texas, if Quinn would have not returned for the season after getting injured in that Houston game, does Texas make the college football playoffs?
I mean, if the plane crashed, then they don't make the
That's what I'm
playoffs
saying.
either.
There's so many variables that go into this, guys. I mean, the expectation, yes. The realistically, it's just not a realistic thought to think he's going to make it.
But Jason, you're ignoring my question though. The question is,
we're talking
about. But we're talking about. But no, I guess what I'm saying is, you got to tell me recruiting matters or it doesn't.
Of course it matters.
Okay, because. Well, then if recruiting matters, the way you say it matters, the way Jeff Ketchum says it matters, and as important as you guys say, as important as you guys talked about the importance of getting 5 stars, which you see him doing, high 4 stars, which we see him doing, attacking the transfer portal, which you see him doing, why then are we saying, well, shit can happen? I mean, really? If you're telling me this guy's recruiting at this high of a clip.
You know who else recruited at that high of a clip? Mac Brown. And Mac had some stinker years in there. So, I mean, bad years happen, dude. Bad years are going to happen to Kirby at some point. Kirby's got it rolling right now where he's damn near bulletproof, it feels like. But bad
is that a given, though? Like, he's getting into that Saban conversation. Like, he's getting – like, I know he's not there. Yeah, but, like, he's on that same trajectory. He could just pull the plug 1 year, in 4 years and say, I'm done, and he will have been top 10 every single year. And there's a chance he runs there. And I know we're like, and again, I understand that it can come off as a hot take and homers about the Sarkisian thing, but it's more projecting being early, right? They've been there once. I get that. And just like Anwar just mentioned, the recruiting thing is one thing, and it's, finishing in the top 10 in high school recruiting, finishing top 5 is cool, but adding that portal thing in there, which is pretty new and something that Saban couldn't take advantage of early in his career and things of that nature. I know I'm comparing it to Saban, but it's a new thing in college football that I think Sarkisian is at the Lane Kiffin's recruiting it pretty hard, the transfer portal, but Sarkisian combining the two, high school and transfer portal, and being able to say, hey, we're going to graduate, these 4 skill talent guys, we're going to bring in 5. And it seems like that's kind of going to be his plan of attack while also bringing in high school recruits. And if it works, I don't know. I can 100% though visualize what I'm saying and then also understand what you're saying. Like, things happen and you could go and have a class of Ajayi Halls and Sheila Billingsleys and things like that. And it can implode in your face.
It'll never be that bad again.
You get what I'm saying, but like, it can implode in your face. And I get that 100% from where Jason's coming from with the argument of saying anything can happen, as well as losing quarterbacks and things of that nature. But as far as my take is, how the thing is built right now and how you can visualize if it continues on the same trajectory, there's no reason to think, they're not going to make it one year just because of they're not going to have the talent, they're not going to have the ability, they're not going to have the coaching, things like that. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Hey, listen, if we're going into each season, to be clear, I would predict the way things are being built, the way the roster is being stocked. Yeah, I'll go into each season predicting they're going to make the college football playoff. I'll predict it next year. Will I be shocked if they don't make the college football playoff next year?
Yeah.
If they lose to Michigan and Oklahoma and Georgia, or throw A&M in there, add Arkansas. Will I be shocked if they don't make it? No, I'm going to predict them to make it, but I won't be shocked if they don't. So that's why I don't think it's reasonable to say, yeah, they're going to make it every year, sight unseen, no questions asked. I don't think Ryan Day makes it every year. I think the trajectory of that program is kind of trickling down a little bit. So the only coach I would feel comfortable saying he's going to make it every year for the next 5 or 6, we'll see beyond that, is Kirby Smart. He's the only one I'd be willing to go out on that branch for.
Right, and the only guy who missed the playoffs last year in the 4-team format. So,
but he would
go ahead with that one, Jason.
But he would have made it clearly with a 12-team. He would have, and probably Almar, if it was a 12-team last year, Georgia's in. I'm not sure Georgia doesn't win the national championship. I get it. They lost to Alabama, but they still might have been the best team in college football last year, man. So.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Florida State feels the same way. Tom G.
Not without their quarterback, right?
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
I mean, they still felt like they should have been in, and they still were undefeated, right? So it is what it is. You don't go to Tallahassee with that take, and it ain't going to end well for you.
Okay.
What if you go to Alabama? There's not ain't much difference between that and Tallahassee. It goes. Tom G wants to know, what if your third loss is in the SEC? What is it? CG
championship.
No, you're in. You're
championship. Number one team in the country.
You're in the SEC championship. You're in, right?
Yeah.
No, he's saying if you lose, let's say Texas loses to Michigan, loses to Georgia, and then loses to Georgia, who's number one in the country in the championship game. Are they in the top 12?
Yes.
That's an interesting one. If you lose to Georgia twice, then
I would think so, but who the hell knows, man? That's good. I don't know.
If it's played in the SEC championship,
if it's Michigan, Oklahoma, and then you beat Georgia during the season, and then you lose to Georgia, I think you're in.
But Georgia probably wouldn't be number one.
It's just speculation, but I could not imagine them leaving Texas, who just went to the SEC championship and who lost in the SEC championship, keeping Texas out of a 12-team playoff. Right? It was just you would, in that case. I'm just going through wouldn't you have to, in that case, put in a bunch of teams over them that didn't even make their own championship? You would have to, because there's no,
it all
right?
comes down to rankings, because it's the top 5 conference winners, right?
Yep.
Highest ranked conference winners.
Yep.
And then it's just whoever's
ranked the rankings.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there would be at least 5 more that would be, so that would be 10 and then there would be 2 extra teams on top of that. It would feel like, I don't know, I guess it wouldn't always just be the team that was the runner-up in their conference, but it just feels like the team that was the runner-up in the SEC in a 12-team setup would certainly be there. But, I mean, we can't say with certainty because we don't know what the records are, the rest of the teams, and what the scenario would be. But I would guess it more likely than not that Texas would be in.
All right, so Young Catch, a.k.a. Cody. These other guys on the bottom of the screen, they're kind of older and jaded, right? And you get that. Like, Jason, he yells at people to get off his lawn, and Alex is just Alex, right? Who knows what has him triggered? Maybe his new water pick didn't come in time, right? And so maybe Alex is in a grumpy mood, right? But Cody, why do you think that going forward that Sarkisian might be a little bulletproof as it relates to a 12-team playoff? I've heard the skepticism from these other, guys who are so old and jaded. Give me some young perspective. Give me some young optimism.
I think just that, like I kind of mentioned it before with the recruiting, like it feels like the tactic he's bringing in, and it feels like obviously a new thing, and you're always shooting to get to the top, and it feels like the contract he just earned after showing up for a year. He's been here for 3, but showing up into the college football playoff for a year and performing throughout. The build of the program, utilizing the transfer portal, utilizing high school recruiting, is something that hardly any teams, I shouldn't say hardly any teams, but hardly any teams are succeeding at the same level of Texas. And I think just coupling them together is allowing them to build a different structure and a different type of team than anybody else in the country. It feels like they're just ahead of everybody in that sense, where, of course, like I mentioned before, Lane Kiffin's already jumping into the portal and he's hyper aggressive, but you can't be hyper aggressive in that nature and just expect your team to continually show out like that. You have to have growth from within the young guys, the 5-star high school prospects, the 4-star high school guys that are building the depth under your team to give you pieces when you do miss out on the transfer portal and things like that. And I think that point blank, why I think Sarkisian's, you said bulletproof. I think that's tough, but I mean, it feels like it's trending that way. You could see it coming 5-6 years down the line, but it's because I think he's ahead of the game in the NIL structure and in just attacking transfer portal and high school recruiting.
Alex?
Yeah, I'll ask you, Anwar, what if they lose 4 games next season?
Well, if they lose 4 games next season, it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be one of the bigger setbacks. I think it would be a bigger setback than the season following the Sugar Bowl victory, if we're being quite honest with you, because that was just a Sugar Bowl victory. That wasn't the playoffs. Like this, there's the expectation that this team, and by the way, from an odds maker standpoint, because Alex, I know you go to the odds makers, where people have Texas from a win projection standpoint, it would be falling short of that expectation to have a Quinn Ewers, to have the guys in the transfer portal, to have built up this offensive line the way that you've had, to feel good about the defensive components that you had, to bring in the kid from UTSA, to bring in Makuba, to have, Colin Simmons that's there, to have, a good linebacker. The freshman standout, for some reason, I'm forgetting his name at this moment.
Anthony Hill.
Thank you, Cook. Thank you. To have all those components, to have a coaching staff that you just went ahead and extended all these guys an extra year and kept them to the 2026 season, to have all of that on paper, to have all this quote unquote momentum, all this build up to the SEC. And you told me they lost 4? If there's not an injury that's then somehow in there that made it go to 4, where you might be able to wrap your head around it, and even then,
it could be an injury. That's what I'm saying. The ball bounce is funny.
But even then, we should be close to a point in the Sarkisian era where an injury isn't going to derail the season. I don't know if the margins are supposed to be that thin, Alex, from a depth chart standpoint, where we look at it and say to ourselves, one injury. If Quinn, knock on wood, has to miss 2 or 3 games, do we think he's going to perform as badly? Arch is going to perform as badly as Malik Murphy?
No.
I don't think it. So are the margins really? I don't know if
2 injuries. 2 injuries. Both quarterbacks go down. Then, of course, it's a monumental failure. But I don't know about one injury. One injury is like
we saw Jonathan Brooks get injured, and we saw what the running backs still looked like, and they were still very productive at that point, right?
Okay, so all right. Let's say Texas goes 9-3, doesn't make the playoff, but and loses the bowl game and loses 4.
That's a failure. That's a failure.
Yeah, so what I'm saying
that's a Jimbo. If they go 9-3 and lose a bowl, that's 4. They lose 4 games. That's what Jimbo lost 4 games that year after they were top 5.
Okay,
and got the contract.
What I'm saying is this. What this whole conversation, and I feel like we've all kind of said our piece on this. So this will be my final piece about will Texas make the playoffs every year under Coach Sarkisian? Okay, is that what we're projecting forward? In my mind, is expectations, and those expectations are now based on one season. And coming into that season, we would have said, what were our over-unders and our totals for Texas wins last year? What did we say? 8.5, 9, something like that.
They were favored to win the Big 12 title. Before
but
season,
on this very show, we had to give our predictions and our over-unders. I think all of us were either.
I think most of us were at 10. I think
Almar and I were at 10.
Yeah,
I think I was at 9.5. I mean,
I think Jason and I were at 10. Okay. If I go back and look at correctly.
So, dude, in Vegas it was 9.5 was the win total. So you said it was going to go over.
You said
okay, all right. So are we changed? So we're basically now saying that the expectations have been permanently changed by what we've seen occur and by what has happened with the way that the team is being built and what we've seen occur over the course of one season. And that came in a season where the quarterback was lost for 2 games, right? Now, or was it 3? Two and a half.
2 and a
right.
quarter. Whatever. Yeah, 2.5.
So with that all being said, I come back to the same thing that I've said this whole time. I understand how the expectation is shifted. I just can't understand how we would say that this would be just a lock guarantee that this happens every single year.
Remember, guys, and we can move on, but this is a Texas team that was 3rd in the CFP rankings. This is a Texas team that nearly lost to Houston, went to overtime with K-State, was in a dogfight at the end with TCU, right? Now they're playing a much tougher schedule, man. I mean, it's not unfathomable that this team loses 3 or 4 games. If they play the way they played last year was good enough to get them 11-1 and into the conference championship, partly because of the competition level. It's not out of the question that this team loses 3 games or
Jason,
even
but Alabama almost lost to USF on the road.
Well, that quarterback situation was awful early on.
Okay, I'm just saying, but that happened. I mean, I hear that like the almost lost to, but I can give you the Alabama almost lost to USF. Like there's a lot of close things that could have happened for a lot of programs, not just to Texas.
Well, then that echoes what mine and Alex's point. The ball can bounce in weird ways. Due to the ball bounces in a different direction, maybe Texas loses 1 or 2 of those
dog
games.
fight with Houston. Ben Sinnott, the tight end for Kansas State, being wide open in the end zone, and Will Howard just not seeing him on 3rd down. There's just some stuff, man. Like, yeah, the Hail Mary to beat Auburn. I understand that goes against the point that I'm trying to make, but it's the same thing. It's football. So,
wise man once told me, winners find a way to win, losers find a way to lose. And if you can teach winning, the culture will be winning, and it'll happen more often than not.
Who told you that?
It's a middle school coach.
What's your middle school coach doing nowadays?
Yeah, he sounds like he was on the fast track to a good job, dude. Yeah,
that's a straight shooter with up.
Question is, Cody, how was your middle school team? Yeah. Were you guys a bunch of losers, or did y'all win football games as your middle school team?
Actually, so 4th grade we were horrible, and then 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th we were undefeated, and then we lost our first one.
So this dude knew what he was talking about.
The last game of 9th grade was our first loss. So,
all right, well, he must have been a pretty good coach. So. Words to live by.
Like it, Cody. So Jason, kind of along these lines, but kind of taking it a little bit step further, right? I don't think we've talked about this a lot since it's happened, not here on the podcast, but the coordinators did get an extension. We did see Pete K get one. We saw Kyle Flood get one. We saw Jeff Banks get one as well. These guys are going to be around here. I believe if my math is correct, there are 6 of the original Sarkisian hires who are still a part of this staff, including those 3 that we talked about. What did you think about those guys kind of getting an extra added year being here through the 2026 season? I'll start with you, Jason.
Love it. Sark talks about it all the time. Continuity. I don't know the numbers, but I got to think there aren't many programs, Power 5 programs, that have that kind of continuity at their coordinator positions. So I think those dudes are all great coaches. I mean, obviously Sark, Kyle Flood is the offensive coordinator in title. Sark obviously handles play calling and a lot of that stuff too. But Flood's a bona fide badass as an offensive line coach, as a recruiter. Banks, ace recruiter. PK, PK took his punches early on, but I think people are seeing now he's a pretty damn good defensive mind. So I think that's a major, major win. You're right. We haven't talked about it a ton. Everybody's focused on Sark and his the big numbers on his contract. But to me, retaining all 3 of those coordinators for how many more years? They've got 2 or 3 more years now in there?
Yeah, through 2026. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, man, that's a huge, huge win for Texas, assuming those guys stay for those for all 3 of those years. And they all seem pretty damn happy, right? I don't see any reason to think any of them are leaving anytime soon. I don't know that any of those guys, I don't know, man.
I think that Jeff Banks probably wants to be a head coach.
I think I was going to say, Alex, I think if there's one that maybe has the aspirations to be a head coach, it would be Jeff Banks. Okay. And I don't know, I shouldn't speak for those guys, but just kind of the way I kind of read the tea leaves there, maybe Banks would be the one that has aspirations to be a head coach somewhere. But I also think Banks is, he's Sark's boy, dude. I think he probably loves Austin. So I don't know. I think it'd have to be a pretty sweet deal to get him to leave. So I think that's a big story for Texas that probably hasn't been talked about enough.
There's the numbers that are on the screen, so you guys can see. And just for those who sometimes struggle with this, when you get down to Pete K, you got to add in his salary to Pete Kwiatkowski, and then the annual payment to PK Enterprises LLC.
Doing that tax stuff. He's got a good CPA.
It's all good taxes. If you got a good, like Alex said, if you got a good CPA, they'll explain to you why you need to do this and the importance of this. I have that on the screen. Cody, what did you think of those guys getting an extension over, at least getting the announcement?
I won't say too much because Alex just wrote up a great piece over on Orange Bloods, but I think the biggest takeaway I had from that was just looking at all of the SEC teams and Ole Miss being the closest comparable of the same situations. Kiffin's been there for 4 years, and his OC and special teams coordinator have been there for 2. And everybody else, it's not even close. There's guys that have been canned. There's guys that have left. And there's no continuity that compares to what Texas currently has right now. And I only think that continues to help them, should continue to help them in recruiting over the course of the next year or two, as long as this group stays together.
Alex,
onward. Let's, because we're not gonna have time on this show to get into that whole thing. Like, let's do a deep dig on our show tomorrow and go over the continuity stuff. Like, it's one of our topics, right?
Okay,
like,
give me.
But
we still got 15 minutes.
I think though is because like because that was some good, like, it's that's kind of eye opening, and I think it deserves a little bit more time. But my main takeaway is just like I've always been, protect Kyle Flood at all costs. Just make sure that Flood stays on staff. I mean, or was it Jason was saying he's not sure if he has head coaching, if he wants to kind of get back into the head coaching hat in the ring. I mean, I think these guys, all these coaches, man, at the college level, these guys are total alpha males. I think all of them have the desire to be able to have their fingerprints on a program and grow it and build it. They all think they can do it. That's the way they're built. It's the way that they think. It's the only way that you can think if you're going to be a successful coach at a coordinator level, right? It's like you're the head coach of that unit. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, Banks is great. PK, I think look, if we're just talking about one that I'm just happiest that, is they made sure to maintain, maybe it's just because I have chart every single snap by every single offensive lineman for every game. I've been doing it for 13 years and it's never been as easy and just as clean and just, I'm not having to sit there and throw my poker chips on the table and just say, like, what is this concept? Like, what was the coach even teaching on this concept? I don't even understand where their leverage is. I don't understand what they're doing. I don't understand the kind of double team technique here. Like, none of it even makes sense. It's very frustrating to not even be able to truly identify what a attempted concept was, right? Because that's what you got to do whenever you grade the play. First, identify the concept. Once you identify the concept, you can know the assignment. Once you know the assignment, you can grade the player on his execution of that assignment. It's been very easy under Coach Flood. It's gotten progressively easier and progressively more enjoyable. These guys are good. They're fun to watch. They're awesome players, and they're getting developed. So, Flood to me is the big one, but certainly, the continuity and where you and I'll get into that a little bit more tomorrow, as far as breaking down the specifics among some of the other top coaching staffs in the nation.
I just had one note. Aside from that same conversation is, just the trajectory of all the coaches right now in college football, the ones that have left and departed, like the Boston College coach going to Green Bay, and some other coaches going to the NFL. But Sean Elliott, who was an offensive line coach at South Carolina, then went to Georgia State for 7 seasons, left Georgia State a couple of weeks ago to go back to South Carolina for just a positional job. I didn't dig deep into that, but that just feels like partly a thing with some of these coaches where maybe, and this could kind of fall into the same conversation where, yeah, Flood's maybe looking at different jobs. Maybe Banks is looking at a position potentially at a smaller school, not saying Georgia State, but whatever, you name it, right? Liberties of the world, smaller. maybe they stay here and focus on what's already built and the recruiting that they can, the NIL they have and the recruiting stronghold that they have in Texas, rather than trying to work against the grain and in the recruiting and the NIL stuff, working for a smaller school. So I think that's also something that can work in favor of Texas keeping these coaches in town.
And it used to be, Cody, too, like a coordinator would make whatever. Not in the too distant past, a coordinator might make $500,000. Then they take a small school head coaching job. They're making $1.25 million.
Yeah.
Well, these dudes are getting paid freaking ridiculous sums of money. So, I mean, to me, it's like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The grass isn't always greener.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Like Alex said, a lot of these coaches, they're alpha dudes. They think they can get to the top of the mountain and be a head coach and just keep climbing the ladder. But dude, if I'm sitting here making 1.5 or whatever some of those numbers were on where I put up, and I'm part of a really good Texas program, I get to live in Austin. Hey, brother, you're gonna have to drag me out of the Texas.
That long money versus that short money kind of thing, and it's like it's like that lottery payout. Do you want to get a certain amount per year, or you try to get?
Oh, you want the lump sum. You always take the lump sum. Yeah, always the cash option.
We're talking lottery money.
Yeah, that's sure. All right. Maybe bad analogy. Tom G had a question though. You want to know what's the message of the other coaches not getting a raise as a secondary coaches on the hot seat, like I think they should. Tom G, no message in that one. One of the things I had in our war room last week was that a lot of these coaches are probably going to get their raises in May. So I think the priority was to take care of the coordinators first. And then the other guys will be coming second. So
does that just have to do with the timing of the different Board of Regents meetings or stuff, or does that have to do with like a quarterly financial thing, or why?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure how they got that thing set up, Alex. And and I'd have to see when those contracts expire. But I just do know that I don't think there's a quote unquote message to any of the other guys per se. I don't know how much all those guys going to get, but I don't think it's like, hey, the coordinators get something to do now. There's definitely
Sandman's comment about the
yeah. I mean, there's something. Hey, there's a conversation to be had, and it's not a hot seat one, but there may be a pressure. I think Jason, now we talked about this the other week. There will be a conversation to be had about the amount of pressure that some of these coaches are going to be on going into the these upcoming years and stuff. But right now, Tom G, no worries as far as that is concerned. Look here, we got about like 10 minutes left. I think Alice and I will save some of these things for tomorrow. So
parting shots. We do parting shots. We got to do parting shots. I mean, it's the modcast, right? We got to do parting shots.
That's actually what I was saying, Alex.
Okay,
that's literally what I was saying.
But we haven't done them consistently. We got to be more consistent.
Yeah, man, I finally got one. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump the gun on you.
Yes, I was trying to say, why don't we get into? We got 10 minutes left. Why don't we get into parting shots? And so, Cody, I will start with you. Give us kind of some of your final thoughts.
Let me go second.
Okay, well then Alex says he's got something. So Alex, why don't you go first?
Cody, the Cockamamie NFL, during the show, finally got our credentials for the combine, so we're good to go. I cannot believe, and so I'm gonna need to get from you. I'm gonna need to get from you probably a 8x10 photo and a stool sample and everything else they need for this application process this year, man. They're making it a little bit harder and harder, but yeah, man, I can't believe it that somebody like the NFL, it's like it'll be my 13th year going to the combine, except for the year when they shut it down over the reaction to COVID. But it's been 13 straight years that I've been able to go. And so I wasn't worried about not being able to, get in and stuff. But I think if somebody were like younger and hadn't been to this thing before, they were waiting to get their credential approved before they booked travel or got their rooms or anything, like they're going to be paying out the wazoo. Yeah. It's like the NFL just does not care. They don't care. They're just like, man, you figure it out. We're gonna do us. But so I'm happy that we finally got the credential in, and once we get that onward, I'll be able to get with you and talk to you about the scheduling and stuff for next week of these shows and things like that. So we can finally start getting some things in order for our coverage from the combine. Cody and I will be there. We got a ton of Longhorns that we're going to be able to interact with, and people we can talk with behind the scenes about what's going on that side, and also, of course, for the fantasy stuff over at Roster Watch, talking to all the GMs, talking to all the coaches, and interviewing all the position group prospects, which is going to be awesome this year because it's going to be worlds colliding. We're going to have to be doing the fantasy stuff for like Jay Brooks and A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy and Jatavion Sanders, man. It's going to be an awesome year. Excited to get back to the combine. Feel bad for everybody that doesn't know how this thing works and was waiting until they got their credentials to book their travel plans because it's going to be a nightmare.
Cody, I'm going to come back to you because you said you needed a minute. So I'm going to give you a couple of more. So I'm going to get Jason is next. Jason, what do you have as a parting shot?
I don't know if y'all saw it, probably not, but on Twitter, sorry, I'm multitasking here. On X, former Texas signee who was let out of his letter of intent, Deontay Robinson, who then signed with Florida, with his NIL earnings, guys, bought his mom a new house. And it's on Twitter today, and she walks through, and he surprised her with keys. Super sweet, super cool moment. But that just blows. I don't know if they said he bought her a house, but did he put a down payment? I don't know what's going on, but they said he bought her a house. How much is Florida giving this kid? He wasn't even a top. I think Rivals had him just inside the top 200. I don't think 24/7 even had him, or ESPN had him ranked in their top 300 or whatever. So I don't know. I've just got mixed feelings about it. Hey, dude, that's an awesome moment, but take that money and invest it, man. Set yourself up because you don't know how your career at Florida is going to go. You don't know where you're going to be from 4 years, but I guess a house is a pretty good investment.
A house is not a bad thing. That's not.
Yeah, as I say that out loud, yeah, that's actually a pretty good investment, isn't it? But no, but I saw it and I was like, man, that's really cool. Good for him to do that for his mom. But it just blew my mind that like I said, maybe the reporting was a little twisted. Maybe he put a $25,000 down payment. I don't know. But it said he bought his mom a house. So pretty cool moment by DeAndre, and what a great gesture of showing love for his mom.
All right, Cody.
I knew I loved that kid. I wish he would. I always told Alex during Football with Friends that I wanted to see DeAndre and Sadir in a couple of years. That would have just been so exciting. But so that's I love that one. My parting shot's going to be, I guess, maybe kind of lame. It's going to be pretty basic. It's just going to be appreciation for all of you guys, appreciation for Alex, appreciation for Catch, because I haven't even been here for a week. I started last Wednesday, technically, when I first talked to Catch, and I was on Football with Friends all fall with Alex. And I sent him a bottle of tequila because I'm appreciative of him, and I'm appreciative of all of you guys for welcoming me into Orange Bloods. I just put my first piece up this week, and this is my first time officially not being on Football with Friends, but a different pod. So I just want to give a parting shot to all of you guys.
Yeah,
what kind of tequila did he get you?
Glad to have you, brother. Yeah, it's Casamigos, man. Cody knows me. Yeah. Delivered right to the door. It's nice.
Oh, wait, did you use Specs? Did you use Specs? Is that what happened?
I don't.
I DoorDashed from Specs, and I watched the DoorDash. I'm in Virginia. I watched him DoorDash, go walk in the store, walk all the way to Alex's, and Alex is like, "What the hell?" Send me a video of it. It's pretty cool.
So I'll be extra nice to Cody if that's the kind of shit Cody does. Cody, I'll be extra nice to you, brother.
Tell everybody what your responsibilities are going to be on Orange Bloods, Cody.
It's just be covering football, the draft, covering recruiting, all things of that nature right now, and then just filling in on spots like this. I'm going to be on House Divided on Thursday, so just kind of plugging and playing wherever I can fit in on the football side, recruiting, and the draft.
Nice. Congratulations on that one. As far as my parting shot is concerned, I got nothing. It's been fun hosting this thing. It was cool doing the show this morning with Alex. Looking forward to some more. We've got, obviously, here now I'm going to talk a little bit more about these assistant coaches who have been extended. So stay tuned for that from Alex and I tomorrow morning. But that's it for the Modcast. For Cody, who's very happy to be here and sending people drinks that none of us are partaking of. So but I expect to get some by the end of the year, just as an FYI. For Jason, who likes beer, so feel free to send that to him, Cody. And for Alex Dunlap, who is here as well. And then, of course, Jeff Ketchum, who we don't know where he is, but he's here somewhere. For everybody there in OB, you guys take care. Make sure you hit like, subscribe to the channel if you have not. We shall see you guys soon. It's a great modcast. Will Texas make the playoffs every year under Sarkisian? Give us your opinions in the chat. Write it down so we can see. I will see you guys